get away. You don't really want any more from me.
Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means we will be performing the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish in just a moment. Just have to get a couple things out of the way. Of course, I have to acknowledge our title sponsor, Legendary Foods, who makes this show possible through a very, very generous sponsorship contribution. If you go to the website eatlegendary.com, use the code SHR10, you'll save 10% off. Trying to get the do not disturb to come on the phone here. I don't want it to ring during the show. You'll save 10% off everything that you order, and they have a lot of really great snacks for those of us who are conscious about carbs and what we're putting in our body, and we want high protein. Find some fantastic things there. Check them out. Go to eatlegendary.com. Use code SHR10. Even if it's not just to save 10% off, to let them know that you learned about them here on Superhuman Radio. And of course, now we'll play Coach Rob's theme music.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for asking. And before I forget, I wanted to congratulate you and Alyssa. That was great news. Great news.
Yeah, we got engaged for those of you who are not in the loop on Facebook. Last week, was it last week? Last Thursday, the Thursday before? I can't even remember now. Yeah. But yes, I'm very excited about that. And we will probably get married sometime in 2022.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Hopefully when all this is over, right?
Well, we're having an engagement party in a couple months.
Yep.
And we're going to call it an engagement peaceful protest. So we can have a large gathering in our backyard.
Yep.
And no one has to social distance and no one has to wear a mask because it's a protest, not a party.
Great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah. You know, why not? I'm going to leverage what works and go with the flow, so to speak.
Yeah. I also, I wanted to wish a belated happy birthday to my friend Andre. I wasn't on last Tuesday, as you know, and he had a birthday August 6th. Big fan of the show and just a great guy. I look forward to talking to him further.
Yeah, he's South African. He lives in South Africa. I'm trying to think what town, what city he lives in. I can't remember it right now. Oh, Pretoria. He lives in Pretoria, South Africa. Carrie Kruger is a friend of his. She watches and listens to the show as well. And he's blind, and he's achieved so many things, contrary to what a lot of people said he would be able to do. I know.
I could not believe that just the list of things that he's done, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very really good. Very good. How are you doing? I know you asked me about my training, which is non-existent right now.
Everything's going well. I have to say, other than this elbow, I'm injury-free, and then it's up to me, right? Only I can stop myself now. So
I have just been so covered up with projects. The testosterone that I've worked on for 3 years now will start being prescribed next week. Wow. Adele Musa just did a beautiful white paper on it for me that we're putting the finishing touches on now. Right. Doctors can start prescribing it. If you are interested in having your doctor prescribe it, send me an email at onair@superhumanradio.net, and I'll give you instructions how your physician can get it. This is one of the most exciting things to happen to male hormone replacement therapy in decades. The product is called Natural Rhythm Once Daily Testosterone Injection for Men. And I'm not going to get into it deeply here, but sometime this week I'll do a show specifically to talk about why this is such an exciting thing for men. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's one of those things where I thought to myself, why hasn't somebody thought about this before?
Because they're lazy. They're lazy. I mean, it took,
Right.
I actually went to a couple different pharmaceutical companies and said, would you guys do this? And I said, I'll pay, I want to have this product made. And they had no interest in it at all. They didn't see the value in it.
Oh,
and most of them said, we already have transdermal creams and gels. Why do we need an injectable? a daily injectable. And I explained it to them. I showed them studies, countless studies. Transdermal creams and gels vary absorption based on whether or not you rotate your application sites, based on whether or not you're hydrated, based on if you rub it in too hard and it dries before the transdermal can actually do its job and break up the surface of the skin to get in. There are so many variables, and that's why even women who are on HRT, who use creams and gels, will tell you, like, the doctors get frustrated. It's like one day their estrogen levels are proper, then 6 months later they test again, it's in the dirt. She's doing the same thing every day. The guys have the same problem. The first time they go back, the doctor goes, oh, you're great, you're in the 600s in testosterone. And then they go back for their annual, and it's like, oh my God, your testosterone's 400. What are you doing different? And the guy's like, I'm not doing anything different. I do the same thing every day, like clockwork. So the unpredictability of dosing with creams. And then there's another thing that's unspoken. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I've actually had people reach out to me because Child Protective Services was threatening to take their children away because
accidental
transference. Yeah. Young girls budding nipples and hair on their vaginas, and they check their testosterone levels, and their testosterone levels of that of a young man. It's like, wow. Oh, wait, dad's on testosterone cream. And then they say, oh, well, you got to wash your clothes in a different water. You can't wash your clothes with your kids. Like, oh my God, what? Like, no one told me that. And so the beauty of this, it's an insulin syringe. It's a 29 gauge syringe. Nobody's afraid of it. You pop it under the skin. If your doctor prescribes 11 milligrams of testosterone a day to you, that's exactly what you take. It's precise. There's no risk of transferability. And when you look at the daily pulse of testosterone, which really occurs between 5 and 7 a.m., and then it drops all day long. It just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping until the evening, when you get set up again for luteinizing hormone to pulse in the middle of the night and produce another pulse of testosterone. This looks exactly the same when you look at the blood work.
And therefore, little to no shutdown, right?
Well, I don't know so much about the shutdown. I'm not going to go on the record of that, but here's what I will tell you. Little or no excess conversion to estrogen or DHT. Yeah,
that in and of itself is worth it.
When you look at the research, the longer acting a testosterone ester is, the more estradiol it produces. And anthate produces slightly more than cypionate. Cypionate produces a ton more than propionate. Propionate just lasts 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So with the daily pulse, you're not going to need AIs for people at all anymore.
Yeah. That's a game changer for some people.
Yeah.
Really.
I actually, one of the guys at the pharmaceutical company that I'm working with, has thought about being on testosterone. He's an executive at the company, and he said he's wanted testosterone, but he doesn't want the creams or gels for the reason stated.
Yep.
And he doesn't want a pellet because he knows that, it's basically a surgery. You got to go in and get your butt sliced and they put a pellet in you. And he won't do injections because he doesn't like needles. And he said during a conference call the other day, I finally may start to get on testosterone thanks to this product.
Wow, that's great. Hopefully there are a lot more people out there like that,
It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. Paul Reynolds says, you and Carl have mentioned something called methoxyflavone or methoxyisoflavone before, saying it came and went years ago. I just saw it in a new product making the rounds again. Is this stuff any different? I guess the stuff that's coming out today. Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, and he's right. There are a number of products that are now including it right after it disappeared after after its introduction way back when. But so to understand the whole story, though, you need to understand a little bit about isoflavones themselves. So like ecti, this is an entire class of compounds, some of which have what I'd call limited value. Many of the others are completely worthless, though. Most people will be familiar with the isoflavones in soy, genistein and diazein, which have weak estrogenic activity. Unfortunately, they do affect developing males. And at one point, Dan Duchesne was talking about something called flavone X, which turned out to be chrysin, which was supposed to be, right, the next big anti-estrogenic flavone. The point being, some isoflavones can have physiological effects. When it comes to methoxyisoflavone, though, it never panned out that way. And so here's more or less how it went down. 5,7-methoxyisoflavone was preceded, if you remember, by something called 7-isoproxyisoflavone. The latter was actually patented by a Hungarian company by the name of Chinoan, I think it was. I don't know if the pronunciation's correct.
Rob, you dropped out after the word patented. You said the latter was actually patented, and then you dropped out.
By a company in Hungary, and I think their name was Chinoan. I don't know if that's correct pronunciation.
Okay.
But the patent use included things like, building muscle, losing fat, increasing endurance in livestock. Now, sidebar, a patent on something really doesn't mean anything.
Anybody can file a patent. It doesn't mean that it really works. Right?
You can file a patent on a zucchini to do everything I just mentioned.
Yeah. If you can file a patent on a zucchini to do something that zucchini has never been shown to do. Like, let's say you discovered by squishing zucchini into your gas tank, you got double the gas mileage. You could patent zucchini for that use.
Yeah.
You're right. And it doesn't have to have any merit. You don't have to prove that it works. You're just saying that it works, and I don't want anybody to step on my toes because I'm going to start doing something with it.
Right. So in terms of introduction to the market, and really the two main products that included it, one of which was Syntrax's methoxylone, I think, and the other one was Biotest Methoxy 7, which I know you used. We got some funny stories about that, but those were the two companies that were kind of pushing it. And each one of them had a different solution to the bioavailability issue, which was Syntrax, I think, was using nanonized dissolution to what they call nano dissolution technology. And whereas Biotest suspended the stuff in cholesterol.
100% pharmaceutical grade cholesterol.
Pure cholesterol.
So people are like, oh yeah, cholesterol. This is back when people still thought cholesterol was bad for you.
Right.
I remember bringing that to my doctor, Dr. Jim Swift.
Yeah.
Who already told me he wouldn't use protein powders. And I said, I'm thinking of taking this. And he just put a yellow Post-it note and said, I would not use this. That's it.
Yeah.
And it was 100% pharmaceutical grade cholesterol. It tasted great.
Yep.
It tasted great. Like I literally started drinking it out of the bottle. That's how good it tasted.
And supposedly, they had also put an ethyl carbonate ester on it to prolong the half-life and yada, yada. The bottom line, though, really was this. When the early results for 7-isoproxyisoflavone, it's a long one. When the initial results from that were really discouraging, that's when supplement companies came up with 5,7-methoxy and said, oh, look, this is the real stuff. It works 3 times better. Now, I never personally used it, but I do know the vast majority of people that did found out the hard way that 3 times 0 is still 0.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say 3 times 0 is still 0. It did nothing in this form. It did 3 times nothing in the other form. That's basically what it did.
Yeah. So,
supplement companies are a scurrilous group when you really think about them.
Yeah. And rather unceremoniously, those two products eventually disappeared from the market, and all of the copycat companies, and to be fair, there were a lot of them, they followed suit shortly thereafter. So I would tell you that the new methoxy is no better than the old methoxy, right? Or the new HMB. Both are also more expensive than their past iterations, and 3 times 0 is still 0. There are no results to speak of. It's too bad, right?
But what this does show, and I just had this conversation with my son.
Yeah.
That history gives you opportunities to be in business because things come around over and over again. The bell bottom came back. We wore them when we were kids. They disappeared. They were goofy. They came back not too long ago.
Right.
Everything comes back around. Supplement companies are always looking to add a new SKU because something that they promised would change the world didn't, and they got to rotate that out. So they need something new to add to keep revenue coming in.
Amen.
They don't care if they only get. I was talking to a potential sponsor recently, and I asked him, "What is your traditional customer life cycle?" And he said 2.5 orders. And I thought to myself, man, that's not good. Because if it works, they should buy it forever. I mean, look, I don't even advertise Thrive. Do you know that the average buyer of Thrive protein is now going close to 36 months continuously? And I don't even advertise it anymore. So if you only sell a customer 2.5 orders of something, instead of introducing new products, why don't you fix the products you have so that the customers want to buy them more than just 2.5 times?
Yeah, I mean, they're always under the gun to find new customers, which is why they do new products every 3 months.
Right. And they have to rebuy. And what do? People have very short memories.
Right.
The new kids on the block never even heard of methoxyisoflavone. They're going to look at the research on what it did for cattle and go, oh, man, it causes nitrogen retention, and nitrogen retention supposedly increases muscle growth. Well, that's been disqualified as a fact. But they'll go, oh, I'm gonna buy this. This stuff put on all this weight on cows. I want to be like that.
It was an interesting story.
Yeah.
Still doesn't work.
Very sad. And that's why it pays to read some of the old magazines and go, wow, why isn't this around anymore? Oh, I know why, because it didn't work the first time they introduced it.
Yeah.
So Charlotte Higgins says she's 23 years old and she loves running, hiking, and all sorts of high-intensity cardio type work. Problem is she has several bunions on each foot, and they're causing her severe pain. Can you offer any suggestions? I have some opinions. Go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, so my answer and suggestions are going to fall into 2 distinct camps. So the first is the type of exercise that I think you should be doing more of. And secondly, addressing the bunion issue itself, right? Because that's the root cause of what's causing all these problems. And since my wife has them and they run her family, I have some insight into just how painful and debilitating that they can be. So here are some thoughts. The first thing that I would do is switch to a much less painful form of exercise, namely less cardio and more resistance training. That may be difficult, particularly for women, because there's this assumption, I think, that cardio burns fat and weights build muscle, and I don't want my muscles to get too big.
Right.
You know, but as you and I know, and many listeners know, that really isn't accurate per se. You can keep your high intensity interval training, just perform it with weights instead of, I'm spinning to nowhere on the bike. And in particular, I'm talking about lactic acid tolerance training that I've mentioned a million times on this program. But it's particularly good, especially in instances like this, because you are limited only by your imagination as to which exercises to incorporate. Provided there are compound movements, you are good to go. So that could mean incorporating, let's say, unorthodox things like battle ropes, tire flips, sledgehammer swings, kettlebell swings, as part of that protocol. ultimately, you need to get the bunions taken care of. And that means, as far as I know, surgery. Now, I don't want to dissuade anyone from getting that done. But my wife tells me that surgery was the single most painful thing
Yeah.
she has
Not,
ever.
not only is it painful, but you are literally off your foot for like 6 months, and you're on one of those little scooter trolleys everywhere you go. You're on crutches. You can't put any weight on that foot, and the doctors want you to, because a lot of times bunions come back, and I'm going to tell you why they come back in a second.
Okay.
But they want to be able to say to you, well, you didn't stay off the foot for 6 months.
Right. Well, I mean, when she said it was the most painful thing she ever experienced, she even qualified that by saying it was worse than childbirth. So take that for what it's worth. A bunion, as I understand it, thank God I don't have them. A bunion is literally bone. It's this bone growth. So obviously, cutting off bone is going to hurt. There is just no sugarcoating it. I can remember how painful bone bruises were in baseball, right? After you've caught so many fastballs. It is a very deep, aching type of pain. Now, anecdotally, I have heard of people trying glucosamine, chondroitin, and CSIS. More than anything, I hear CSIS does much better, particularly with this type of issue, versus glucosamine. And I think there's a good reason for that, right? It's not a cartilage wearing away issue. It's more so, I think, runaway growth in the bone. CSIS, and they're not quite sure how it works still. But the speculation is that it lowers cortisol somehow, or there's a cortisol modification would be easy, would be a more accurate statement. The fact that improves things better than glucosamine, that makes sense to me, given the mechanisms that I just mentioned. So I would try that. I would modify your forms of exercise to something that causes less pain. And then also, ultimately, you got to get it done. I would bite the bullet and do so. There is always something, and this is what I wanted to leave you with, though. There's always something that you can do. Even if it isn't your preferred form of exercise, there are always options. Shoot.
Thank you. My delivery guy just came in. Oh, good. Oh, my package from Pure Nootropics just came in. I'm going to be working with some new. I'm going to let you guys know what works and what doesn't. I got some salbutamine in there. So women end up with bunions way more frequently than men. Couple reasons. Number one, at some point in a woman's life, she starts putting her toes in a shoe that brings the toes together and crunches them. And then the heel of the shoe is higher than the foot of the shoe. So it pushes down into this, and it literally squeezes the toes in instead of having a nice spread out like your toes want to be. They want to be spread out. They don't want to be crunched in like this. That's number one problem. But you may not be a high heel wearing woman, and that's fine. You may say, no, Carl, I always wear flats. I never wore high heels. The other reason that women end up with bunions more frequently than men is because of something called foot pronation. So supination is when you walk on the edge of your foot, right? So this is the arch of your foot. This is the outside of your foot. Supination is when you walk like this. And when your shoes wear out and you put them down, they're tilted like this, out. Pronation is when your feet rock inward. So when you put your heel down and put your foot down, as you roll off, your ankles collapse in and then they come up. And what that does is that puts uneven stress on the outside of the foot. The way supination puts uneven stress on the pinky toe and the outside of the foot here, pronation puts uneven stress on the arch of the foot and the great toe, it's called. The big toe is called the great toe. Forcing the great toe in this way with every single step. And that over time starts to create inflammation in the joint. The joint responds by calling osteoclasts and other bone building materials to come build a stronger joint. And you end up with the outside of the joint building, not the inside of the joint. And slowly but surely, the toe just starts to stay that way, the way it is that you're making it turn when you walk. So first thing you need to do is, number one, you need to go to a running shoe store in your area, and every town has one. Usually an ex-professional distance runner opens up a place in town here. We have a place on Bardstown Road. I can't think of the Ken Combs store. So Ken Combs was a famous runner. They will put you on a treadmill and watch you walk barefoot. And then they will sell you a shoe and put an orthotic in it to stop you from pronating. That's the first thing you want to do, because you don't want to fix this toe and then have it go back to the way it was 5 years later, because then there's no second surgery for it. And in fact, you may be able to even fix it permanently if you get the right kind of shoes that keep you from pronating. I'm willing to bet your ankles turn in a little bit when you walk. If you take a video of yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the other thing is that you may do well with a 5-finger type shoe, a glove type shoe that separates each toe out and makes them stay separate. You may want to get away from a traditional running shoe that has a toe box where the toes can, because your feet are already designed where your big toe wants to go in. So you literally have to force it out. The other thing is, get yourself a pair of yoga toes. At night when you're watching TV or working around the house and you're not going to be walking, you put them on. They separate all the toes out and they keep them separated like this. You have to retrain the toes. If you can avoid the surgery, I would avoid it. In some cases, when the bunion is so severe that the big toe not only turns inward, but clockwise, okay? It doesn't just move in, but it actually rotates. They literally have to cut the big toe off and turn it counterclockwise and reattach it. So that becomes the new normal for the joint.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true in every case, but I suspect people would be at risk for it. If you're not addressing feet issues in general, there seems to be this cascading effect where, the knee, the hip, the lower back, because of overcompensating on one side. And so, these feet issues, even though they might seem like small things, can have that type of cascading effect unless you get it addressed.
You are so right. You are so right about that. And we don't take care of our feet the way we're supposed to. We really don't. They take a beating and we just keep on moving and we don't really care. So yeah, I would definitely look at ankle and foot pronation and make sure that, and go get fitted for a good running shoe at a place where they will literally fit you. They'll make you walk on a treadmill barefoot and they'll give you what you need.
Right.
Joe Lashaway says, I'm eating a ton of protein, 300 grams a day, but not growing. I work out hard too. My sleep is on point. I'm also still in my late teens. So any idea what's going on? I'll bet you anything. I can guess the first thing you thought of when you read this, Rob.
First thing I thought of was that's not the whole story.
Right, because 300 grams of protein is 1,200 calories a day.
Right.
What else are you eating besides 300 grams of protein? Are you getting 3,000 grams of calories of food a day?
There you go. That's the first place I'm going here.
I knew it.
So at first glance, all the fundamentals appear to be addressed, but in almost every case, that really isn't the case. So let's talk about why. Eating high amounts of protein is terrific if you're eating enough calories from other sources, carbs and or fats, to spare that protein to do its job building muscle. Otherwise, you are teaching your body to oxidize protein as an energy source, and that is very metabolically inefficient and expensive. So I know plenty of guys who eat 300 grams of protein a day, some even more. Almost every serious trainee can tell you down to the gram how much protein they're eating every day. What they can't tell you is how many calories a day they eat. A lot of these guys eating 300 grams a day are also eating 2,500 calories a day, which is for most people wholly inadequate for putting on muscle. Once they get those calories up to 20 times body weight, magic things start happening. I mean, they really do. In some instances, it may take even more than 20 times body weight.
Sorry about that. Timer's running.
So,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, that should give you an appreciation for how important calories are. The one thing I always go back to is what my mentor did in the supermarket once. He picked up a box of whatever, and he showed me the calories, and everything is defaulted to 2,000 calories a day. And he said, if you want to look like an average person, eat 2,000 calories a day.
Right.
If you want to be twice as big, get it up to 4,000. His point, obviously, was well taken. So that's it. That's on the calories thing. Second, what does I work out hard really mean? I would much rather hear something like, last workout I lifted 1,000 pounds per minute, which was 100 pounds per minute more than the last time I did that workout. If you can't quantify things like that, if you can't quantify overload, you're not even firing the gun. You can have all the ammunition in the world, best diet in the world, all that protein. But if you're not firing the gun, nothing happens. Now, let's say he is training correctly and he is stimulating muscle growth, but he's still not eating enough. Is all lost in that scenario? No, because although he's not going to gain a lot of new muscle or any new muscle, people can and do still get stronger, but it's primarily via a sharpened central nervous system, so to speak, versus actually building brand new muscle. That, however, in your late teens, which I think he said he is,
yeah,
that should not be just getting strong. Getting stronger is good, but your real goal during that time period should be to pack on as much muscle as humanly possible, since your natural testosterone, growth hormone, insulin sensitivity, I could go on, will never be higher than it is during those years. In fact, by the time you hit your early 30s, the sky-high hormone levels of youth are not what they once were. Now, I'm not saying they crash down to nothing. I'm not saying you can't still build new muscle. I am saying it's going to be a lot harder, hormonally speaking, because you're no longer at your peak. And then just understand a long, slow, and usually steady decline awaits you as you age. And that's nature's way of getting rid of us, right? After we've sired children.
Yeah, right.
And so you grow weak and frail. But just to recap, first, I would ensure that you're eating the necessary amount of calories, at least 20 times your body weight, to get the scale moving. You can fine tune things after that. Dial it back a little, dial it up, what have you. Second, I would ensure that you are firing the gun, which is you are overloading the muscle in some form or fashion that you can quantify every workout. And I'm assuming his sleep is good at that age.
Yeah,
right. Most kids, I still marvel at. I asked my son, "How'd you sleep last night?" He said, "Good." "How long did you sleep?" 11 hours. "Did you wake up? Did you wake up?" "Nope."
I know.
Nope.
Right?
You close your eyes, you open them up. 11 hours goes by. So, get those details right, because 300 grams a day of protein is not an inexpensive hobby, right? I mean, that takes some coin to consistently get 300 grams of quality protein every day. Take those steps to make the most of it.
Like Dave Hartnett says, who you can see from his picture carries a respectable amount of muscle. Late teens, prime time to grow, feed the machine. And that, that's what it comes down to. It almost always comes down. There's no such thing as a hard gainer. There's just people who aren't eating enough. And 300 grams of protein is respectable when you've got another 150, 160 grams of fat and another 150 to 200 grams of carbohydrates mixed in with it. That's when magic happens. When you're starting to get into the 3,000 and 4,000 calories a day consistently, day in and day out for weeks and months, then stuff starts to happen.
Even when some very powerful pro hormones and active hormones were on the market, and let's be honest, they were very powerful. Even with that, nothing I have ever done has touched 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day when I was, let's call it, I think I was 19 to 25. I will never forget the power of eating that many calories. It's just, especially at that age, it's magic. It's magic.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. Later in the show, I'm going to discuss a study that provides even more evidence that sex rewards you. The more you have it, the healthier you will be. They didn't start out to prove that. That's not what they tried, but they did prove it. And I will talk about that later in the show. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the BluePrint Power Hour. We'll be right back. Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
Planet Earth CBD offers a fast-acting transdermal patch that targets your aches and pains for the relief you need. Not only is the patch uniquely patented, but it is widely believed to provide larger quantities of available cannabinoids to the source of pain than other brands' subpar products. Effective for 24 to 48 hours. Experience the benefits of Planet Earth's high-quality transdermal patch, manufactured by Next Generation Technology in an FDA-registered facility. This pressure-sensitive adhesive delivers rich hemp extract directly through the skin. Be it a neck ache or a headache, you can count on CBD to take off the edge. Go to planetearthcbd.com today to learn more.
Over 11 million people in the U.S. have some form of retinal damage, also known as macular degeneration. This is expected to double to nearly 22 million by 2050. Artificial blue light, age, type 2 diabetes are all contributors. Doctors say there's no cure. ARMED is changing that opinion. In one clinical trial, 93% of patients had arrested or improved their condition. 54% reported lessening of glare, reduced dryness, and improved clarity and comfort. And 0% felt worse during treatment and no side effects. Take control of your macular degeneration or keep it from ever occurring. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com and get armed today. Are you still on the fence about body protection complex BPC oral from drseeds.com? Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus lifting company gym in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. You know, I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, you know, we really don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started the BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do that with literally no pain at all.
Go to drseeds.com, drseeds.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today. If you suffer from digestive issues like gas, bloating, cramping, even when you're eating healthy, nutritious foods, then you could probably benefit from a high-quality enzyme. As you know, I'm a mega fan of Bioptimizers. They're one of the few supplement companies who I use religiously because their products work. I asked them for a great deal for my listeners, and they over-delivered. Right now, you can get a bottle of Masszyme for free. All you need to do is pay a small shipping fee, and there's no catch, no tricks, no forced continuity, nothing to cancel. They're so confident in their product that they offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. I'm positive you'll love the results. I strongly suggest you head over to their site to grab your free bottle before this offer runs out. Go to masszymes.com/SHR free. That's MASSZYMES.com/SHRFREE, all one word. You will automatically get access to your unique coupon code to claim your free bottle, and there's a limit, one per household.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
I love Masszyme. I take them with every meal. In fact, I take huge doses of it after a meal. My gut health has changed dramatically since I started using the Bioptimizers products. Really, no joking.
I'll have to tell my wife about that. Maybe it'll work for her.
She can get a free bottle right now, and legitimately,
Really?
you pay like $4 or $5 for shipping. I forget what it was. It's like priority shipping, but it's well worth giving it a try. No doubt about it.
Okay.
Brian Calloway says, I heard a past show where you say the best nootropic for most people is modafinil. Why do you say that? And is there anything legal that comes close?
Well, this is timely, isn't it? Your package from, what was it, Nootropics Depot?
Yeah, I can't wait to open it. I'll open it while you're talking. Go ahead.
So most people, when discussing nootropics, are looking for something that usually helps them think faster or remember more, something along those lines, or at least feel mentally sharp. Nootropics really, if you think about it, are fast becoming the new brain steroids. Kids are using them both in high school and college to get an edge for doing better on SATs and exams of all sorts. On the physical side of things, many people like to combine very low dose stimulants, let's say 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine, plus modafinil prior to training. That will increase your focus without making you jittery for most people. The way higher dose stimulants will. Let's say, almost every pre-workout today has a minimum of 200 milligrams of caffeine, and a lot of them have 400 milligrams or more. I've seen some really stupid amounts, and it's not doing anyone any favors in the gym. So I would tell you that if you're interested in it, I would tell you to try modafinil before using before using it with other stuff and for either purpose. Some people don't do well on it, and some people don't like it, period. Alternatively, there are some people that don't do well with it, but they do much better on our modafinil, which is, I think, said to be a longer acting version. Couple things you should know. Not technically, they are Schedule 4 drugs, right? I think, technically, you need a prescription for it. The legal alternative, though, is something called adrafinil, which is simply a precursor to modafinil, developed by the French many, many years ago. It takes a little longer to kick in, about 45 minutes versus 10. But more importantly, and this is really what you need to know about adrafinil, it does stress the liver somewhat. It's not horrible, but the liver toxicity is in the studies. That shouldn't be too much of an issue if you're only using it when you really need it. Okay. People that use it every day, yeah, they're going to want to be concerned, I think, about liver function. So if that's you, I would err on the side of caution by using things like TUDCA or LIV52 or N-acetylcysteine or even alpha lipoic acid, things that have been shown to improve liver function. Now, we get to perfectly legal, at least for now, nootropics. There's a lot of stuff out there. Even I can't keep up with it. But I'll tell you this, one of my favorites for years, and this was going to be the main ingredient in my pre-workout, was something called sobutamine. It goes by some different names. And there's, if I'm not mistaken, it's Arsalan is the name of the prescription in Europe. But in effect, it is a vitamin B1 analog. Now, don't let the fact that I just mentioned a B vitamin related compound lull you into thinking that this stuff doesn't work. It's one of the few supplements you can take, and you can certainly feel. It varies from person to person, but it has a very distinct effect on the brain and on your focus levels. Most people tolerate a couple 100 milligrams, no problem. I would caution you to be careful, though. There are some people that, for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, they can get an actual, flu-like symptoms that are related to it. And that's not pleasant. You can avoid that, I think, by working with 100 milligram amounts and graduating up. I have also had a lot of success with things like phenylparacetam, which is pyracetam with a phenyl group attached such that it crosses the blood-brain barrier much easier. Something called Nupept, and a source of acetylcholine such as sitcholine in conjunction with huperzine A or something called galantamine. Both of those inhibit the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine. So not only are you using something that's a source of acetylcholine, you're using something which keeps levels higher than they otherwise would be. A totally stim-free combination, and I want people to try this because it's really interesting, the feedback that I get. Really, let's see. I'm sorry. L-tyrosine, 3 grams. L-dopa from the plant Mucuna purines.
Mm-hmm.
And DMAE, dimethylaminoethanol. Those should be on your short list for worth trying, so to speak. They are all relatively inexpensive. And I would say a good 75% of the people that I recommend it to are very surprised as to how well it works, especially for a non-stimulant. 25% for whatever reason don't get an effect, but it may be because they took it on a full stomach. You need to take those things on an empty stomach. So
I got a question for you, Rob. So is 200 milligrams of salbutamine an effective dose? And do I have to worry about it keeping me up at night if I take it late in the day?
Yes and yes. For most people, they will feel 200 milligrams and it will last anywhere between 4 and 6 hours.
Okay. All right. Next question. What is PEA? I've heard you talk about PEA before. PEA. I'll tell you what it says. It says palmitoyl ethanolamide. PEA.
I think if he's talking about the nootropic, PEA is phenyl. I forget the full name.
This isn't. This is PEA. It's PALMITOYL. Palmitoyl.
Oh, yep.
Palmitoyl ethanolamide. PEA. It says micronized for better absorption. Pure nootropics.
I've read about it. I haven't used it. If it's the stuff that I'm thinking of, it's good stuff, especially on paper. The one drawback is a very short half-life.
Okay. And then lastly, have you heard of a brand called Dynamine, which is a patented brand of something called methyl iberine?
Yep.
What is that?
It is a supposed caffeine alternative. I would tell you, if you're comparing it to caffeine, it's not even close. Originally, I was very hopeful based on the studies, but no, real world, it's not even close.
So if I take 200 milligrams of salbutamine now, I'll be able to get to sleep tonight because it's well more than 6 hours from bedtime.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to try it. Try it during the show. Hold on.
Good.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of good stuff here from the folks at Pure Nootropics. You know, everything they sell is amazing.
Right.
I drank 4 Negronis Saturday night out at dinner. I took a DHM capsule before and the DHM capsule after, and I woke up in the morning with 0 hangover. And
what is a Negroni?
A Negroni is a very powerful drink. It's a shot of gin, a shot of Campari, and a half a shot of sweet vermouth on the rocks.
Jeez.
And I had 4 of them in a matter of an hour and a half. And I took the DHM before and after. And you can get, like, we have an amazing deal. I'll find it and put it up here in a little bit, where you can get DHM like super duper cheap to try it yourself. But if you're somebody who likes an alcoholic beverage from time to time, this is the stuff you need. By the way, did you? I sent you that information about the company that overseas that offers the whatchamacallit, modafinil. Yeah. There's quite a few companies now that sell it. It's like $1 a tablet. I don't like it. I took it. I told you I didn't like it. It made me feel clammy, and it made me feel like yohimbine does. It made me feel clammy and warm, and I didn't feel good. It wasn't enjoyable at all. I was like, oh, I won't ever do this again. Did
armodafinil feel the same way?
I didn't take the armodafinil. I just took the half of a modafinil tablet, and I was like, nah, I don't like this. This is no good.
Yeah.
So Rigo Vargas has a pretty long question, and then we'll take a break. He says, on ketones, the 2 companies I know of who use ketone esters, not salts, are Ketone Aid and HVMN. They both combine 1,3-butadiol and beta-hydroxybutyrate, to exogenously induce hyperketonemia. Since 1,3-butadiol converts to BHB in the body naturally, could one simply take D1,3-butadiol, which you can buy 100 milliliters for about $45, and consume that instead? I have an opinion. I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not the ketone, salt or esters expert. Instead, I'll just give you my take on things after reviewing some of the studies, which I found very interesting, and I learned in researching this question. So 1,3-butanediol, from now on, I'll just call it 1,3. It looks like to me on paper that it can and does in fact convert to beta-hydroxybutyrate and serve as a substrate for brain metabolism. It was even found in one of the studies that I was looking at to be protective of the brain, not unlike creatine. Now, there are a few caveats, though, that I found in the literature, so let's talk about it. Research in the United States on these so-called synthetic sources of dietary calories. I've never seen those words together, synthetic sources of dietary calories.
And that is exactly what Dr. Dominic D'Agostino has been calling them forever. He said this is just another source of calories. It's interesting. Yeah.
So the research, as far as I can see, goes way back to 1958. NASA was looking at this stuff in an effort to develop high nutrient density food for extended space travel. Of the compounds screened, and there were many of them, this 1,3 stuff was the most promising. Tests indicated a very low acute oral and chronic toxicity, similar to that of propene glycol or glycerol, aka glycerin. Note, I didn't say no toxicity, I said low. But interestingly, 1,3 furnishes about 6 calories per gram if fed at levels not exceeding 20% in the diet. So calorically, it seems
you dropped out after you said 6 calories per gram if fed at, and then you dropped out.
If fed at a level not exceeding 20% of the diet. So calorically, it occupies this kind of rare middle ground between protein and carbs, right, at 4 calories per gram, and fats at 9. Now, let's talk about why you would want to do this and what the study showed. Higher levels, higher than 20% in the diet, resulted in impairment in growth and food utilization in rats. In young animals, however, body fat stores went down, as did resistance to things like stress from extreme cold. That kind of begs the question in my mind then, was the fat loss the result of the cited impairment of food utilization? It could be. And if it was, is that really a good way to lose fat? I wasn't able to determine from the studies that I looked at whether or not, it was as a result of lesser food utilization. It may be that, or it may be that it lowers blood sugar, which I found in other, but not all studies. So several studies showed it in fact lowered blood sugar in various animal models. In other studies, though, it didn't. So it's still an open question in my mind if and how it might work for fat loss. If it does work by controlling blood sugar and or keeping insulin steady or low, it would make all the sense in the world, because as I've said before, you can find evidence that 1 million diets work for weight loss. The common denominator is low to steady insulin. Also of note, dogs fed 20% 1-3 maintained greater muscular work on treadmills, but larger amounts, greater than 20%, resulted in a decrease in performance due to decreased coordination. Not exactly sure what's going on there, but this 20% threshold seems to be big, at least in the studies that I read. I do think it's fair to say you'll see a performance enhancing effect, if for no other reason than the impaired function seen by some people during that transition period when they're, initiating a ketogenic diet, is effectively bypassed by these products. So just think about it logically. These ketone salts and or esters, whatever you want to call them, they give the brain what it needs to function in minutes instead of days. Of course, you're going to perform better. So that is precisely, I think, what the military was after when they commissioned DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, who ultimately, I think, contracted Pat Arnold to make these salts and create them for our troops in the field. But here's the bottom line. If you're going to try this, I'd start out very conservatively. I would ensure the amount of 1-3 you're consuming isn't more than, let's say, 10% of your calorie load for the day, at least to start. And provided you tolerate that well, and it shows some promise, then I might consider going up to 20%, but no more. So that's my take on these things. I was never a big user of them, though.
When I was at Quest, they had a couple gallon jugs of 1,3-diol laying around, and they were in the area that Ron Penna ran the research and design side of Quest. They came up with all the recipes and the flavors and the new foods, and these people were brilliant people. And we all were using the 1,3-diol. People would just take a Dixie cup and pour it and then drink it, and it tasted horrible. You have to trick your brain to make your brain think you're not drinking paint lacquer. I mean, that's what it tastes like. It tastes like some sort of, like it tastes like something you picked up underneath your sink and drank, and it's going to kill you in a couple minutes. That's how foul it tastes, But I have to tell you, all we ever used was the 1,3-diol, Rigo. And it lasted for hours and hours. And it lasted for hours and hours specifically because it's recycled through the liver and then becomes BHB. So you get the initial ketone rise in your blood. And then as it filters through the liver, you get a second wave.
Yeah.
And that stuff was great. If you could tolerate the taste, or you could find a way to mask the taste, I don't think you need the V-Chester. I know the V-Chester is the new thing now, and that's what you're talking about. The V-Chester has the BHB and the 1,3-diol together. And This is supposed to be better. But I think that you can get away with the 1,3 diol. And I don't think you have to calculate how much BHB is going to be converted. I think you take it and you see how long you feel. Because when I used to use it, I wasn't hungry.
Yep.
My brain was very clear. I usually was fasting on those days. I was fasting for long periods of time, 24, 48 hours. And I was just using the 1,3 diol when I was in California. And you just don't look for food. It sustains you. I think that is probably more important, how you feel, than doing calculations about what's going to convert to BHB once it passes through the liver. And also, if you go to the website, shrnetwork.biz/DHM, you'll get 20% off the DHM I was talking about. If you're a fan of the occasional alcoholic beverage, this is a must-have. Why drink and feel anything the next day other than fantastic? That's what this stuff does for you. So check it out.
Cool.
I think the next thing we have to cover is, in fact, the BluePrint tip of the day.
Tip of the day.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. Also want to remind people that we have a nice new Instagram page. It's at Superhuman Radio. We would love for you to like it, share it, follow us. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have the BluePrint tip of the day. And then later in the show, I'm going to tell you again, I don't know anybody else in the health, fitness and longevity area that has a podcast that has been telling people for over a decade now how important regular sex is to living long and being healthy.
Yeah.
And studies keep proving me right. And we're going to talk about one in a second after today's show at the first hour. That is especially important to women or anybody who is worried about osteoporosis. What? Sex and osteoporosis? Yep. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier, and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it. Unlock your potential with the best cognitive enhancement and anti-aging supplements on the market. PureNootropics.net goes the extra mile for the highest quality ingredients, third-party tested to make sure you only receive the best your money can buy. There's no better choice with their money-back guarantee and free shipping. Try their best-selling DHM. Dihydromyricetin prevents hangovers and helps deliver detox after a night of drinking. Get your DHM and other nootropics and longevity supplements from PureNootropics.net, the purest supplements around.
Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the healthier alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. Their sugar-free biltong is seasoned and then air-dried for up to 2 weeks, providing you with one of the most tender and flavorful meat snacks that you've ever had. They also use a fattier cut of beef, which adds to the tenderness and gives their biltong even better flavor. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the perfect snack or travel companion for your busy life. Get a free bottle of Ranch-tastic seasoning with every order. Free shipping on orders of $99 or more. Get yours today at selectsavorysnacks.com/SHR. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Coach?
Tip of the day is thoughts on where you train. Does it make a difference? So now that gyms in my state, up here in Massachusetts, have reopened, I have had the opportunity to bring my son and his friend back there to train. But, in the course of doing so, it became apparent that something was lost. And I'm still trying to put my finger on it, but there are a few things that come to mind. Number one, fresh air and sunshine. Training outside affords you the opportunity, obviously, for plenty of both. And for kids today that don't run, don't play, and pretty much don't go outside, that's big, right? As is, speaking of sunshine, by training outside, they get a healthy dose of vitamin D. And we all know how important that is, right? It's the only vitamin doctors test for, to say nothing of what we know about vitamin D and its benefit insofar as being protective of COVID. And if you do get it, it's not as bad. So there's that. Number three, we trained on a grammar school playground, which means we were limited to the equipment that I could stuff in my car. That, however, is one of the biggest blessings that you can imagine, because the work that you can do with a simple trap bar, some free weights, a weighted vest, a sled, and a few other odds and ends builds more muscle than virtually all of the machines put in XYZ gym put together. There are some good machines, but the point being, they're working on big compound movements the way most adults should. Now, speaking of that playground, they're a little different from what I remember, right, when I was a kid. And although that's going way back, it was interesting to me because gone is the concrete surface or dirt, right, that was part of underneath a swing set, let's say. And in its place today, they have this spongy stuff. I don't know what they call it, but it looks like rock pavement, but it's very, very springy, let's say. If you're about 200 pounds and you step on it, you'll feel yourself sink a little bit.
You don't think it's just they've started recycling car tires for playground.
Ooh, that might be it.
Yeah, so there's this whole movement because we have car tires have to you every time you buy new tires, you literally pay $5 for each tire that they're taking off your car so that it can be sent to one of the accepted locations where they store tires. Tires don't break down over time. They store them. And this company came up with to add to asphalt to make highways and roadways last longer, and they're actually recycling the rubber from the car tires into the asphalt. The other one is they chop the car tires up into these big chunky looking pieces that look like big black pieces of gravel almost, and they use them for playgrounds.
Right. And so, whatever it is, but I think that's it. I think it's made from recycled tires. it is ideal for deadlifting off of, right? And I also had the kids do cleans just with a barbell, a straight barbell, no weight. Had them do kettlebell cleans, and you show them the clean and jerk, and then at the end, of course, you're dropping the weight, just dropping it from a very, in some cases, very high level. And there's no problem doing so on this material. So they save my free weights. Now, we did everything from trap bar deadlifts to standing overhead presses with that trap bar, one-legged squats, both with body weight and a weight vest, crawl outs into push-ups, where the kids, I had them put their feet on the swings, right? I think that little plastic strap that the kids sit in. Had them put their feet in there, had them, walk out, alligator walks, do a push-up, go back, do it over again. And I had them climb the swing set and touch the top pole. Now, interestingly enough, there were no monkey bars at any of the playgrounds I went to, and I went to a bunch of them in our town.
They did away with them because they're afraid kids are going to fall and hurt themselves. No, I'm serious. They did away with all the monkey. I read an article. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. We talked about it on Casual Friday. All the parks and all the municipal run parks were getting rid of the monkey bars because they're afraid that kids are going to fall off them.
Yeah, I knew something must be going on. That's sad. That's really sad. There's no place really to chin. So I came up with something different for them. I had them climb the supports, the swing set supports, which was a real challenge because the supports they're angled outwards, right?
So they had to hang under them and climb up.
Yeah,
they had to hang under them.
Right, and so that's tougher than climbing straight up.
Right.
Now, it can get a little hot and humid, especially this time of year, even up here in the Northeast. But that too, though, is a learning experience, right? It illustrates how important hydration and electrolytes are, because exercising in that kind of heat, it doesn't take long to sweat them both out. And then finally, for finishers, I had them do either loaded carries or with the trap bar, or heavy drags with the sled, and or sprints, both with and without the sled. The kids really enjoyed the sprints at the end, mostly because I set it up as a race. So after they're done dragging the sled heavy, I had them drop everything and sprint side by side with me, where I'm sprinting too, but I was dragging a 50-pound sled, which was really fun, and eye-opening too. So there's a lot to gain from training outside, more than most people know. It's still very hot up here this time of year, but the fall is coming soon, and that is ideal time to return, I think, to the playground. And for you, listening, the situation is much the same. These are public places. Generally speaking, you can pull workouts on them, no problem. Take what you have to a local playground or school, and don't be afraid to get creative. The stuff you come up with is really challenging in some cases, like those climbs I was telling you about. For a surprise, the last time we trained outside, I had them push and pull my car right after I got in it and put it in neutral. They loved that. They got a huge kick out of that. And I will always remember the smiles on their faces, right? Because they were having fun. They were training, but they were having fun in the process of doing so. Just stuff like that sticks with you. Now, you can do the same and more, a lot more. You've heard me mention many times on this show about body weight work, right? Body weight training for years. And here's another good example. If push-ups are too easy for you, do those crawl outs I was talking about. Put your feet in the seat of a swing set and crawl forward, do a push-up, go back, rinse, wash, repeat until you can't do it anymore. See how many you can do. It is brutal. It really is. And it's really fun, change of pace from whatever you were doing, whatever push-up variation you were doing before. Try that angled climb on the swing set pulls. I told the kids if they can shimmy up that and touch the top, vertical pull of the swing set, that's 1 rep. And needless to say, they didn't get many, but most people won't, right? Including me, probably. The burning.
Yeah, not if you're hanging like that. I mean,
right.
Not if you, yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's like I did a couple just to get a feel for it, and the burning you feel in your biceps and your lats and even in your abs, it's a completely different feeling and a good feeling. So here's the bottom line: get outside and train, even if it's just once in a while. Let's say a couple times a month. I guarantee you're going to find that it's challenging, but it's also fun. And you'd be amazed at what you've been missing. Really, I was completely blown away by it. So, yeah,
very cool. When I lived in Phoenix, I used to have a set of portable uprights to squat from.
Yep.
And I used to take my Olympic bar and some 45-pound plates and my uprights, because they came apart in the middle. They had a screw part. And I used to take them to the park. And I used to do Litvies. I used to do squats, rack the bar, and then sprint I used to sprint to the light pole, which was probably about 100 yards, and then walk back. And then I do squats, and then I would sprint.
That sounds brutal.
I know. I was in such good shape back then. I'm not in that kind of shape today. I'd like to be in that kind of shape again. And I just need to make getting to the gym. Like, I'll go to the gym today after work. I just need to make getting to the gym my priority. I just have so many plates in the air that it's hard.
One other thing that we did, and you can only really do this outside, is I had them take a barbell and from the ground, clean it and toss it as high over their heads as it'll go, right? And then obviously it falls back on the ground, and you walk over and you do.
You hope it doesn't fall on the head. That's the only thing. You got it.
But it builds a tremendous amount of explosive strength.
Yeah.
There's no break, right? Yeah. There's no
and they know I got to throw this not only far enough up, but far enough behind me that it doesn't hit me. So they're really gonna use extra energy not to get hit by the bar.
Vasily Alexiev, the great Russian, by many counts, the world's strongest man. He's since passed on, but that was one of his favorite exercises. He just took a bar and tossed it as high as he possibly could. And, his results certainly speak for themselves.
Did he have weight on it, or was he just using the bar?
Nope. From what I read, he just used the bar, and he worked on tossing it higher and farther every time.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. The website is coachrobregish.com. You can go there and learn more. Read some of Coach's writings, sign up for the BluePrint Bulletin, and get this stuff sent to your email inbox all the time. Are you still running a special on the BluePrint Bulletin?
No, we actually stopped that at the end of the month.
Okay.
However, it was so popular. I had more people sign up than I ever had before, and with good reason. It was just a sweetheart deal. We will do that again, certainly before the end of the year, and I will let you know as soon as we figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so there you go, coachrobregish.com. Go check it out. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to prove to you yet again why job number one from an evolutionary standpoint is sex, and why you are rewarded with greater longevity and health the more frequently you have sex. We'll be right back with more. Stay tuned. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon. They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. If you suffer from digestive issues like gas, bloating, cramping, even when you're eating healthy, nutritious foods, then you could probably benefit from a high-quality enzyme. As you know, I'm a mega fan of Bioptimizers. They're one of the few supplement companies who I use religiously because their products work. I asked them for a great deal for my listeners, and they over-deliver. Right now, you can get a bottle of Masszyme for free. All you need to do is pay a small shipping fee, and there's no catch, no tricks, no forced continuity, nothing to cancel. They're so confident in their product that they offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. I'm positive you'll love the results. I strongly suggest you head over to their site to grab your free bottle before this offer runs out. Go to masszymes.com/SHR free. That's masszymes.com/SHRFREE, all one word. You will automatically get access to your unique coupon code to claim your free bottle, and there's a limit, one per household.
Unlock your potential with the best cognitive enhancement and anti-aging supplements on the market. PureNootropics.net goes the extra mile for the highest quality ingredients, third-party tested to make sure you only receive the best your money can buy. There's no better choice with their money-back guarantee and free shipping. Try their best-selling DHM. Dihydromyricetin prevents hangovers and helps deliver detox after a night of drinking. Get your DHM and other nootropics and longevity supplements from PureNootropics.net, the purest supplements around.
Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the healthier alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. Their sugar-free biltong is seasoned and then air-dried for up to 2 weeks, providing you with one of the most tender and flavorful meat snacks that you've ever had. They also use a fattier cut of beef, which adds to the tenderness and gives their biltong even better flavor. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the perfect snack or travel companion for your busy life. Get a free bottle of Ranch-tastic seasoning with every order. Free shipping on orders of $99 or more. Get yours today at selectsavory.snacks.com/SHR. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again. Are you still on the fence about Body Protection Complex BPC Oral from drseeds.com? Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus lifting company, Gym, in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. You know, I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, you know, we don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started the BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do this with literally no pain at all.
Go to drseeds.com, DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. This will be short and sweet. So I first started talking about the importance of sex, at least a decade ago, when the first study showed that men who had more frequent orgasms were protected against getting aggressive prostate cancer. Then some years later, they did another study very similar to see if the more orgasms you had early in life translated to less prostate cancer later in life, and that's true too. And then they did another study that showed that older men who reported having more orgasms, and the top tier was 22 orgasms a month, which means that these guys were having sex Monday through Friday, which also means they were either seeing prostitutes or they had a wife that was on HRT because she was willing to continue to have sex too. Because let's be honest, women don't just lose their libido when they're not on HRT. the functionality of their vagina changes. They can't have sex a lot because they don't lubricate easily. It's painful. There's actual shrinkage of the tissue and so on. But the guys who had 22 orgasms a month had literally non-existent PSAs, and all of the any evidence of any kind of BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia was gone. Hypertrophy was gone. They had no prostate cancer in the group at all. And so the study was, the more orgasms you have, the less likely you are to get prostate cancer. Now, from an evolutionary perspective, this makes so much sense to me, right? Because self-actualization is a construct of humans, right? The reality is, from the little mouse to the big rhinoceros, there's only one job, and that is to live long enough to make babies and then go away and make and let the babies continue out. And that is to continue the trajectory of the species. That's the only job you have. Your job of becoming a successful rapper, power lifter, executive, owning a big home, owning a big boat, that's all BS. That has nothing to do with the human condition. That is self-actualization. Those are desires and wants and things. But at the end of the day, they don't matter to your body. Your body doesn't care about that stuff. Right. What your body does care about is that you're having lots of sex. And if you're still having lots of sex at an advanced age, then that means to the body, you're still capable of fathering a child. And if you're still capable of fathering a child, then your job here isn't done yet, and your body will work hard to keep you alive. And I've said just recently, I was just interviewed on someone's show recently, and I said, when your libido goes away, start to worry. When you lose your libido, your body is sick. And the first sign that you're sick may actually be that you lose your libido. That's the canary in the mine. The minute that you start to lose your libido, look at what's wrong with you. Find out what's wrong with you. Fix yourself. Because libido is a greater indicator of how much longer you're going to live.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for years. No one's proven this, but I'm waiting for it. Libido is a more evidence of how long you're going to live than anything else we have today, telomere length or anything like that. Okay. So with that being said, a group in Brazil looked at the hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin is produced by the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and it's produced in great amounts in response to orgasm. That is responsible for pairing. That the more you make love to your woman or your man, the more orgasms you experience with that person, the deeper the bond is with that person, the harder it is to walk away from them. We call it love, but it's a chemical effect in the brain. We know this. And the more orgasms you have, the more oxytocin your body produces. Now, oxytocin, we did a show probably 6 years ago, maybe 7, that showed that oxytocin increases a microbe in the gut called L. reuteri, and L. reuteri is associated with better aging. Rodents that had higher L. reuteri in their gut from infusing them with oxytocin literally started acting like young rodents again. Their coat changed, their desire to mate changed, their willingness to venture out changed, as opposed to the old rodents that they were before they were introduced to excess oxytocin. I did another show that showed that old rodents and young rodents compared. They injured the muscle with probably like a syringe. The young rodents, their muscles healed quickly. The old rodents naturally healed very, very, very slowly. But once they started giving the old rodents oxytocin, their muscles recovered faster than the young muscles.
Wow.
And that's why I started taking oxytocin, because I wanted it to help me from workout to workout to make my muscles act more like young muscles. Okay.
Is
This
that all?
group in,
But also, is it in breast milk?
no, it's
Okay.
produced when women breastfeed.
Okay, I see.
And that's why women bond with their baby through breastfeeding.
Right.
It's produced during prolactin is the one that's produced to help the milk come out, to relax the breast muscles.
Yeah.
But oxytocin is produced during breastfeeding to make the mother bond with the baby. Now, it's also well known that in women, oxytocin levels drop dramatically as they go through menopause. At around perimenopause, women's oxytocin levels plummet. And some research shows that this is directly tied to women's feeling like life is unfulfilling. They missed out. They don't feel close to their children. They don't feel close to they want to get rid of everybody. They want to start all over again. And there's good research that shows that when women start to go through menopause, as estrogen levels drop, oxytocin levels drop, and their sense
They lose the connection.
Well, it's empathy. They lose empathy and sympathy. They lose it because those are directly related to oxytocin,
Which are typical female traits. And
right? Until they go
bye-bye.
through menopause, and then they don't care about anybody. They want to get rid of their husband. They don't care if the kids come home anymore. Just leave me alone. Where's my bottle of wine? I just want to have a glass of wine. That's all. Yeah, the wine is the replacement for the oxytocin. So this group in Brazil showed that by giving old rodents oxytocin, it reversed the osteopenia and kept them from developing osteoporosis. So oxytocin, the way it acts on muscle, it apparently acts on bone as well.
Well, that's extremely interesting. I'm surprised people haven't pursued that further in our field.
This was just discovered. This was just discovered. Okay. This was just discovered. But the reality is that women just need to have sex more and have orgasms more to reverse their osteoporosis and osteopenia, because the greatest amount of oxytocin is produced by men and women during orgasm. So
yeah, I mean, it all makes total sense to me. It's very logical. It's very logical.
Well, think about it. Go back to what I said. If sex is the only job you have, and the more sex you have, you're doing your job. And evolution says as long as you can continue to do your job, you can occupy a space on this planet. Then the body starts to break apart and fall apart and wither away when you stop doing your job. And so when women stop having orgasms, the muscles fail, the bones start to fail, everything starts to fail because the body is disposable now. We got to get you off the planet. We're not going to keep rebuilding stuff. We're not putting energy into rebuilding bone.
Yeah, the physical consequences of what is going on in the brain, to me, are fascinating. And that's, I think, a prime example, right? You're not having sex as much. The pituitary, you said, is no longer producing oxytocin.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you're falling apart.
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're falling apart at the seams, physically speaking.
And that's your job. Once you can't make babies anymore, your job is to get off the planet. You're done. That's the only job you have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at, generally people that are having lots of sex are generally much happier people, right, than people that aren't. And I'm sure this is a big part of the reason.
And, and there's a lot of people out there who are getting older and they're just not having sex anymore. And they don't think, they say, oh, I just don't feel like having sex. Well, I'm going to tell you a secret. The more sex you have, the more sex you want to have.
Yeah, the more you want, right?
That's the truth.
Yeah.
If you're not having sex, if you start forcing yourself, well, and especially if you're...
especially if it's good.
Well, no, it doesn't even have to be good. That's the best part.
Really?
No, orgasm doesn't have a quality. It's you have an orgasm, you produce all the mechanisms that you want from the orgasm. You're doing good. It doesn't have to be like, oh man, we are just rock stars in bed. No, it could just be a couple sessions a week, and they don't have to last hours. It doesn't have to be like when you were young. It could just be a couple 10, 15 minutes, if 5 minutes, whatever. You get the job done. Your body is going to be rewarded with greater health and longevity. It's a fact.
For
It's a
men.
friggin' fact. Women too. The problem is that men, as we get older, we tend to still want sex. And women, they're a little bit more complex because when they go through menopause, a lot of times they not only lose desire, but they lose the physical ability to have sex. It's painful. It doesn't feel comfortable. It's not enjoyable anymore. What they need to understand is if they start having more sex and if they start having more orgasms, they will start to function better. Their bodies will function better because they'll be telling their body, hey, I'm still good. I'm still ready to go. I can still do the job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of that, like I said, is to me, it's very logical, makes a lot of sense. And I will be surprised where people go with this now that this information is out.
Well, here,
You know,
so the guys out there who aren't getting enough sex at home, tell your wife you want to do her a favor so she doesn't break a bone. Say, honey, I don't want you to break your hip sitting down. So we need to have sex so I can keep your bones nice and strong.
Right. But both of you win. Right.
Yeah. And you keep your bones strong too.
Right. Real strong.
Yeah, real strong. So there you go.
Yeah.
So that's it. Sex rewards the species. It really, really does. And in the case of women, more orgasms equals more oxytocin equals stronger bones and reversing osteoporosis. And that's science, baby. That's not me. The scientists in Brazil proved it here. So that's it. That's all for today. Have fun. Don't forget, CoachRobRegish.com is the place to go to learn more about the coach. And we'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for everything.
You.
Brother. Okay.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Share the show. Share the show. Share the show.